Hello, my name is Matthew Rusin, and along with my colleagues Chris, Calo, and Matt Gardella, today we wish to focus on how language, in the spirit of Ralph Waldo Emerson, can actually provide a point of transcendence into our usage of nature to provide our lives with purpose and meaning. Emerson provides 3 guidelines for his chapter on language. 1. Words are signs of natural facts, meaning words are rooted in occurrences in nature. 2. Particular natural facts are symbols of particular spiritual facts, meaning that words are signs of natural facts and can reflect upon deeper spiritual messages. 3. Nature is the symbol of spirit, meaning that language can symbolize or even contain the spirit, which is God. Let us begin.
Every word which is used to express a moral or intellectual fact, if traced to its root, is found to be borrowed from some material appearance. This means every word with a moral or intellectual implication in our language came from some image that appears in nature. For example, wrong is derived from twisted, spirit primarily means wind, and smart is derived from sharp.
As Emerson said, every natural fact is a symbol of a spiritual fact. Every appearance in nature corresponds to some state of the mind, and that state of the mind can only be described by presenting that natural appearance as its picture. What this is saying is that in order to transcend language, we must go beyond the literal meaning of words to the spiritual, picturesque meanings of the word. We must go deeper, past the regular denotation of the word. An example is how you might say that an enraged man is like a lion, or a cunning man is like a fox.
Man is conscious of a universal soul within or behind his individual life, wherein as a firmament the natures of justice, truth, love, freedom arise and shine. This universal soul he calls reason, and in nature it is seen as the spirit, which is embodied in language as the Father. Spirit in nature, or God, is part of us as we are part of it, connecting to the Jesuit model of God in all things.
But man is an analogist, and studies relations in all objects. He is placed in the center of beings, an array of relation passes from every other being to him. And neither can man be understood without these objects, nor these objects without man. All natural objects revolve around man, who by nature tries to find the connection between one aspect of nature and another, including man himself. Without all these objects, we couldn't understand ourselves. And without understanding ourselves, we couldn't understand the rest of nature.
As we go back in history, language becomes more picturesque until its infancy, when it is all poetry, or all spiritual facts are represented by natural symbols. It has moreover been observed that the idioms of all languages approach each other in passages of the greatest eloquence and power. What this really means is that the reason we must visualize words is that all language was derived from natural symbols. To understand language, we must refer to the origin of language. We know this because idioms, which are sources of visualization, are the most powerful ways of conveying a message. You might know that a phrase such as biting the bullet is one example of a visual phrase that gets its point across powerfully.
Nature is an interpreter by whose means man converses with his fellow men. A man's power to connect his thought with his proper symbol and so utter it depends upon his love of truth and his desire to communicate it without loss. The corruption of man is followed by the corruption of language. For our modern ears, this says our spirit is released from a form of restraint by language, allowing us to express ourselves. But it is also limited by language. For example, if you want to tell someone you are excited, you think of the words to say and then repeat them out loud. Our minds only know how to translate our spirits to others in the limited form of language.
But wise men pierce this negative diction and fasten words again to visible things, so that picturesque language is at once a commanding certificate that he who employs it is a man in alliance with truth and God. Wise men will always speak with the intent to perfectly convey an idea by creating an image with their words. These men are in sync with God.
The visible world and the relation of its parts is the diaplane of the invisible. What it's saying is that, in the terms of a wristwatch, the images of the visible world are like the diaplane, which has on it the tick marks, whereas the invisible, or the spirit, is like the hands of a watch. The visible world, or the diaplane, help us to understand what the spirit, or the hands, are trying to tell us.
The memorable words of history and the proverbs of the nations consist usually of a natural fact, selected as a picture or parable of a moral truth. This relation stands in the will of God. It appears to men or it does not appear. For us, it's saying that wise natural sayings are common to our language, like Portraiture sayings saying the sleeping fox catches no poultry. These are truths that are given to us by God, as is his nature to be there for us when we need help to do his will. In our Jesuit tradition, we could say that these sayings contain God because God is in all things.
Material objects, said a French philosopher, are necessarily kinds of scoriae of the substantial thoughts of the Creator, which must always preserve an exact relation to their first origin. All that is visible has come from the Creator, who is a spiritual being. In addition to this, all things have an exact relation with their origin. Therefore, all visible things have a spiritual and moral meaning.
As Emerson says, every object rightly seen unlocks a new faculty of the soul. That which was unconscious truth becomes, when interpreted and defined in an object, part of the domain of knowledge. What this means is that Emerson is concluding by saying that each time we become conscious of the true meaning of an object, we further the understanding of our souls.